Hey everybody, this is Tanner Steed. Today we're going to be talking about this panel, the Centurion Deluxe Oil Primed Linen. I'm going to give you a review on it, going to talk about the pros, the cons, and if I recommend it ultimately, and where to find it. This is not a sponsored video, it is just a product that I've used before, and I just thought it would be worth your time to get a little bit more information about this product. But before I get started, make sure that you are following me on Instagram and Facebook. If you're in the Denver area, I am teaching courses at the Art Students League. So if you're interested in signing up, enrollment is now. You can contact me through social media or get more information if you just comment down below. So make sure to check that out if you're in the Denver area. And one more thing of self-promotion. If you are interested in purchasing any of the oil paintings that you see in my videos, make sure you go to tannersteedart.com and you can own an original. I also offer a couple options for G-Clays if you're interested in really fine, high quality, fine art prints. And this one will be up there shortly. So thanks. All right, so let's talk about this panel. This is the Centurion Deluxe Oil Primed Linen. This is a 24 by 36. And being an oil primed linen, it has a really nice smooth surface. The weave is not really intense, and you can get nice minute details in your work, which I really like to do. I paint both thickly and thinly, and it holds the paint very, very well. Advantages of using this panel is they come in so many different sizes. You can get them down from 5 by 8 all the way up to a 24 by 36, and they're extremely affordable. If you're asking my opinion on how to purchase this, I always buy them in 24 by 36. And rather than buying all the smaller sizes, I get a huge pack of these and I will actually cut them down to size. So I can create custom panels that are totally unique sizes. If I have a frame that works, or if I want a very specific composition for something, I'm always fluctuating the size. It's rare for me to paint on a 9 by 12, a 12 by 16, 18 by 24. In fact, you can see right here on this one, I've painted the whole right-hand side, and I did a demo at the Art Students League of Denver here, and now that I'm done with this side and the painting is finished, after I sign it, I'm going to slice right along this line, so it's going to be a custom size of 24 by 30-ish. I love having that option to change the composition and change the aspect ratio for a painting. It really makes a difference. I don't like to feel trapped by those standard sizes, so that's one benefit. Being oil primed linen, it is not an extremely absorbent ground, which can be beneficial for some of you who like to work wet into wet. Alla prima work is great on this surface. You don't find that layers are drying really quickly or they're being absorbed into the panel at a rate that's too unmanageable. You can still work wet into wet for a very long period of time because it's an oil ground. Going back to cutting your panel, occasionally, the only issue that I've had with cutting the panel is sometimes the linen will start to come off of the panel, but I have a solution for that. Rather than freaking out and saying, oh no, I've ruined my panel, I use a very simple product, just PVA size. This one's by Gamblin. You can get any brand, but I will use this to glue the linen back onto the panel. And this panel that it's mounted on is some kind of particle board, but when you cut it, it doesn't turn to just a ton of dust and shrapnel like other panels if you were to cut them. This one is at least fine quality enough to be able to slice through and not get dust all over your painting, which is extremely important. I don't recommend cutting other pre-made panels by other companies in this way, because you can run into issues with dust and particles flying. Another thing that I love about these panels is they're really sturdy. I'm constantly moving paintings to and from my studio, to the house, to out in the field, and they're always traveling in my car, going back and forth all over the place. With that being said, I would never want to use a stretched canvas. They're so fragile. But being on a panel, I can throw them in my car, and I'm still, I'm not literally throwing them in my car. It's a much more rigid support than any wrapped canvas would be. All right. Now let's talk about personal preferences and maybe some disadvantages to this surface. The first that I know about is that the oil primer that they use very likely contains zinc. And zinc is not the most archival pigment. It can definitely crack and you can have issues of potential delamination, but it's such a small amount, and it's rare for me to leave much of the canvas actually exposed. So you may see around the edges of my canvas, this is the initial wash. This brown here and this red, purple up here. This is the only exposed canvas that I have. Everything else is painted with relatively thick paint. You can't see the weave anymore. But this surface does have zinc, and so you can run into some cracking or some yellowing in the exposed layers closest to the weave. Now, this is totally a personal preference. I like an extremely smooth surface to work on. So, for a long time I would be a little bit irritated if I were to just work on the weave of the canvas, because it does show through if you're not painting very thickly. Which some people doesn't matter. For me it does. So a way I avoid that is, on this painting specifically, I painted the entire background, this yellow background behind the figure before I drew and painted the figure using a palette knife. And I caked it on nice and thick so I would completely eliminate all of the canvas weave. I wanted it to be as smooth as possible and for me to be more deliberate with my texture. I want texture to be in the areas where I want it because it's a part of the design. Another disadvantage is that if you are, it's only 1/8 of an inch thick. Therefore, the larger that your panel is, the more likely you can get some bowing to the surface, because it isn't really, it's rigid, but it definitely bows with the fluctuations of temperature, which is not great with oil painting becoming more brittle over time. That could lead to cracking. Now, to prevent this, you can add pieces of wood to the back and make it a more rigid support, or you can frame it pushed up against another piece of wood and just make it really, really tight when it's in the frame. That is one disadvantage of painting on a larger scale. Now, the smaller panels, I have absolutely no issue with that. Like a 9x12, I don't see any bowing, any flexing. It's only when you get into these larger sizes, like the 24x36, where I notice just a subtle bow. For sizes this large and larger, I would use just wood that you can get from the hardware store. Alright, so overall there are advantages and disadvantages, but I love this product. I use it all the time. It's inexpensive and it's so quick and easy to use. I order a huge pack of them, I'll cut them all up into custom sizes, and I just always have canvas on hand. Not only does it sound nice being oil primed linen, it is a high quality surface that I would recommend for you to check out, or at least try. It's far superior to any stretched canvas in my opinion, and I'm going to continue to use it for the foreseeable future. 8 out of 10, would buy again. Oh, and make sure to tag me on Instagram if you decide to buy it. I'd love to see if you're using this product. Alright, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. We're gonna cut this.